My name's Caroline Poynton from Manchester Bury. I'm going to record this today about Kerry Bailey.
Britain is heading for a summer
It does sound
of
quite
chaos.
correct, actually.
We have a caretaker Prime Minister,
Considering.
barely in office, definitely not in power.
Yeah.
All major policy and spending decisions have been put on hold.
Nah.
The last Defence Secretary resigned because the money needed to keep Britain safe has not been found. Ministers at the Home Office are fighting each other. In fact, the Immigration Minister has been banned from seeing government documents. Rachel Reeves is ringing round businesses, trying to get them to say that sacking her would risk destabilising the economy, as if that hasn't happened already. What she should have had was the good grace to resign alongside Keir Starmer.
Maybe.
Meanwhile, trade unions are arguing about their favoured candidates to be the next Chancellor. The government is descending into chaos, and no one is dealing with the serious and urgent threats that this country faces. War in Europe and the Middle East, and an underfunded defence investment plan that is putting our troops in danger. Public spending spiralling out of control, and no plan or political will to cut benefits. Yet we are importing oil and gas from Norway and even Russia, while banning new oil and gas drilling in the North Sea.
It's alright, it's
Difficult
income
problems
benefits,
need
but why don't we
solving,
cut the
and
illegal
difficult
migration
decisions
first of all?
must be taken. But the man who will be Prime Minister in a couple of weeks wants a 3-month summer holiday because he needs some time
Why don't we
to
stop
work
being
out
funded
what
for all
he
them and
thinks.
fucking all these things?
He will spend the next 3 months with
Around
unions
West
and
Will.
left-wing think tanks demanding
being
policy
horrible,
changes which nobody voted for.
I'm going to say now
Andy
we're
Burnham
starving,
is
we can't
already the
afford to
Prime
give them
Minister
money,
in
more money now,
everything
we've given
but
them
name.
money.
He needs to act like a leader, put an end to speculation, walk into number 10, name his cabinet, and come to
I
Parliament
mean,
to
yes,
tell the
okay,
country
I agree with
what
like
he plans
Venezuela,
to do.
you know, when something bad happens like that, I agree that every country should help. When it's like a natural, just like a natural bad thing that's happened like that, bad earthquake.
Instead, he is allowing the speculation and the chaos to run and run.
But not being funny, but we're
He has
flooding
clearly
Pakistan,
learned
India,
nothing
fucking
from the
Africa.
disastrous speculation before Rachel Reeves'
And all
last
these
budget.
countries and we can't afford
Do
it.
you remember the one where she went on breakfast TV with an emergency press conference and frightening messages about income tax? That speech,
But we were funding them
according to the chief
to, in
economist
their
of the
own
Bank of
country and they're
England,
funding them to be
became the
here.
single
Legally.
biggest reason that growth flatlined. Her chaotic briefing had real-world
So just something for
consequences.
everything.
Investment decisions were paused. People
And like
lost their
people
jobs.
could come in
And
take
because
money out
Andy
the country.
Burnham is not
Shouldn't be
taking
allowed.
charge and shutting down this speculation, it is already happening again.
Should not be allowed to claim
People are
benefits and
worried
send
about
it to
capital
another
gains
country.
tax, so they're changing their
Yeah, well,
investment
people
decisions.
claiming benefits and
The
sending
car
it over
industry is
abroad,
in limbo
Pakistan,
again,
India,
because they
Africa,
don't know when petrol
wherever.
cars will be phased out.
Fucking Ukraine, not Ukraine,
Everyone is
Romania.
terrified about what will happen
Even the
if
Polish are
Edmund
doing it,
Vance
Polish.
becomes the Chancellor.
Polish government told them to claim benefits and send it back home to Poland. Hang on a minute.
The same is true in every sector of the economy. Britain is facing a summer of chaos. Investment decisions across the country will be put on hold every time the newspapers are briefed about new tax
They don't
rises.
give a fuck
The
about
markets
England,
will
love.
react every time it looks like Britain is going to be borrowing more money.
It doesn't care
Our
about
economy
yourself,
will
it
be
isn't
left
sorry
in
you can't
limbo.
obey it or not. But
And all Labour MPs care
Because you're
about
not
is
Muslim.
which jobs
I know,
they'll
we
be
don't belong-
getting
I don't
in
belong
the
to
new
Islam.
government. The fact is, whether Andy Burnham likes it or not, Britain is facing a harsh economic reality. Our national debt is nearly 100% of GDP. Our credit card is maxed out. We are spending more on debt
Every
interest
government's
alone
failed and
than we
failed
do
and
on
failed.
defence. We are already paying more to borrow
I mean,
than
I
Greece and
do
Morocco.
agree.
Any
To be honest,
signal
I don't
that
care
Andy
what
Burnham
Reform is
intends to
saying.
borrow even more money
If
will
Kerry
instantly
Bailey's won
mean higher
Scotland,
borrowing costs. But
Then
he will have
Reform
to
have
pay
let
them.
3 places
We
go.
will. in higher mortgage
You
costs, in
can't say,
higher
I mean,
taxes,
Rupert Lowe won
and
Great Yarmouth.
someday this money
Yeah, so
will
that's
have
one
to
to
be paid
Rupert
back,
Lowe.
and that burden
Seems like
will
it's one to
fall on our
Labour,
children
one
and
to the Greens,
grandchildren.
and one to Conservatives.
We need to cut
Reform's lost
spending.
out with that.
Public spending
I'm
is
sorry,
already
but they have.
unsustainable, and it is
There's no
becoming
point blaming
more
fucking Rupert Lowe
unsustainable
this time for
every
this
day.
one. Because it's not
But
Rupert
is
Lowe's
his
fault this time,
priority
is it? Because he
going to
wasn't
be getting
doing
it under
Scotland.
control? Or is it going to be giving
I was
out
going to
more
say so
welfare
that Alex
handouts
Keith
to
Phillips
keep
off
his
our
backbenchers
TV.
happy?
I don't want
Because
to
it
see her
sounds
again,
from
Kelly
everything
Baird,
we've
because
heard
she
like his priority
apologises
is to
to
send
Rupert
money to
Lowe.
the north of England to try and bribe voters
And
at
I'm not
the next
saying
election.
you're not meant to be
The
having
proposals Andy Burnham will announce in
your
his speech today
differences because
are
of a
not
different
some
parents or
radical
whatever,
new
but there's no
agenda.
need.
They are
I
old
was going to say
habits.
for what she
He
said.
says Britain has
I
underperformed
like Kelly Baird.
because power, money, and
I do.
decision making are trapped in
I am
Whitehall
voting
and
Rupert
London.
Lowe, but
Where have I
I
heard
would
this
like
before?
Kelly Baird not to join with Rupert
Another
Lowe, to be
mayor who
all
became
fair.
prime minister had a
I think
devolution
they'd make a
agenda.
mint
He had a
Kelly
treasury in
Baird
the
knocking
north.
Rupert Lowe.
Andy Burnham wanted number 10 in the north.
I'm going to
But
say he's
Burnham's
making mint
devolution
tea.
agenda, unlike ours, is stripped of private enterprise and ownership. It is loaded with Labour's instincts, more public control, more regulation,
I would
more
say
taxes,
Rupert Lowe to
all
be
of
the
the very
government
things
prime
which have
minister.
caused the problems we
And
have
maybe
today.
Kelly Baird not
They
survive.
will mean
Well,
more
maybe the
power
budget
taken away
chancellor
from
then.
Parliament, but more and more government created all over the country. More
Or deputy
politicians,
prime
more
minister.
outsourcing of decisions to bodies with
To
even
maybe
less
take over
scrutiny
Rupert Lowe in
and
the future.
accountability. If you look under the hood of
I just
Andy
think
Burnham's proposals, you will find at
we
their core
basically,
a
I'm not
mistaken
being
belief.
horrible, but I just
The
think that
belief that it is government
it's
that
gone
creates
to
growth.
Rupert Lowe because he
It
has dealt
is
with the
not.
grooming gang.
It
He
is
has done what he
business
said he
that
was going to
creates
do.
growth.
And then, I'm not being funny, but he is English. And then he's a farmer and everything. So,
It is business
and
that creates
Rupert Lowe
growth,
makes
it is
sense to
business
be the
that
next
creates
prime
jobs,
minister.
and business is absent from Andy Burnham's agenda.
But it
Politicians
would
are
make
there to
sense to
create
have
the
someone like
conditions
Kelly
for
Baird
growth,
knocking a
and
high
then
job
get out of the
with
way.
Rupert Lowe.
Low tax, simple regulation, stable
Possibly
government, cheap
budget
energy.
chancellor or
If you don't fix those
maybe
things,
deputy prime
nothing
minister.
will grow in your economy.
I was going to say, I
The
don't know which
solution
part
is to
bigger,
let
deputy
people
prime
build
minister
things
or
again.
budget
Give them the
chancellor.
incentives, the prospect of reward for taking risks.
Or
If
energy,
you fix
part
the
of the
underlying
energy.
conditions in our
Yeah, I
economy,
think you could, I was going to say, you think you could be
the
the
housing
energy
and infrastructure
secretary.
will be built
Either.
faster than
And
any
deal with
scheme
the
that
energy.
Andy Burnham can come up with. If Britain is to succeed
Because
over the
she's an
next 2
engineer.
decades, we are going to need to lead the world in sectors like AI, quantum, defence tech.
And they're the same
More
things
regional
that,
mayors aren't going
that
to do any of this. Instead
Elon
of
Musk is
treating the
doing as well,
causes
yeah?
of our
And that's
economic
why we'll
problems,
need Elon
Andy
Musk.
Burnham is going to try and treat the symptoms.
And that's why it'd be very good for
That's
yourself,
why
Kelly Baird,
our
not to join
Conservative
with
plan
Rupert
is to do
Lowe.
5 things to fix
And
our
Elon
economy.
Musk.
5 things that will
And
help
that'll be, I was going to say, that'll be
every
3
single
people
person
that'll
in
be
this
the
country.
best team in the
If Andy
world.
Burnham wants to avoid a summer
Kelly
of
Baird
chaos,
not.
he shouldn't
Rupert Lowe and
start
Elon Musk,
by
that'd be
announcing our
fucking
5
men.
policies himself. 1,
We'd have one of the
cut the
best
cost of
governments there in
energy.
the world with them 3
2,
people.
get people working,
Be
cut
3
the
people.
welfare bill, scrap the Employment Rights Act. 3, cut taxes.
can't be the
4,
government.
slash burdensome
Don't do it
regulation.
very well.
And 5, champion business, not more
Like I say,
politicians.
people that
Champion the
can do
risk
the job.
takers. Champion the job creators. Those are the people who will actually get out there and
I was
hire
going to say, I
young
don't know if
people.
it's a deal
We
with the
don't need 100
Conservatives.
different schemes run by 100 different
I'm not
mayors.
sure which.
Those 5
How
actions
to go
will
about
spark growth in every corner of the
It'd be
country
good.
and every sector of the economy.
Rupert Lowe to
That's
join
why
with Kelly
they are
Baird
our
not.
policy. Let me explain more. Energy is growth.
But I'd still like
And we are
Rupert
never
Lowe to be
going
the
to
Prime
grow our
Minister.
economy while paying the highest industrial energy prices in the developed world. There is a reason that Conservatives have won a by-election in Scotland for the
And I'd
first
want
time in
Rachel
50
Reeves.
years. We
Rachel
won that
Reeves, Kelly
by-election
Baird not
because we are the
something.
only party in
I'm gonna
Britain
say-
standing up for Britain's oil and gas sector.
Maybe the oil and gas sector side. It's a budget chancellor.
To be honest, we're the only party even talking about drilling in the North Sea. Ed Miliband's policy of sanctioning Aberdeen
I
oil
don't
and
know
gas
if Rupert Lowe's
while
got
buying
that
gas
far yet, I'm
from
not
Russia
sure.
has been rejected. It is time to get Britain drilling again. And if Andy Burnham had any sense, he would sack Ed Miliband, not make him Chancellor.
Considering, I was going to say, but considering Rupert Lowe's not that much of an old party, considering one thing who hasn't thought about all that is reform.
Mr. Burnham needs to get Britain
They're
working
not done the
again.
job right.
Everyone can see that the welfare bill is spiralling out of control. It's not just that we can't afford the cost of benefits, which we can't.
All the
We also
chatting I
can't
just
afford
heard
to
not doing
waste the
nothing.
potential of millions of people who can work sitting at home.
It's a fucking
Getting
liar.
our economy growing again is going to need a war effort. And
And I can
everyone
kind of
who
believe
can
what
work
you're saying.
will
I
need
can kind
to
of
play
believe
their
a
part.
bit what Kelly Baker
Andy
is
Burnham
saying.
says he wants to use mayors
Not
to
like,
cut the
I'm
benefits
not
bill.
saying
How?
she's not
He couldn't do it.
like, you know,
The
she's not
number of
sort of
people
truthful,
on benefits in Greater Manchester has
I was going to say,
surged
she,
in
I
recent
could
years.
say,
If he couldn't
Kelly
do
Baker,
it,
not,
why
you're
does he
not
expect
quandoing
others
it
to?
like a robot like
Cutting
this
welfare
down.
means taking tough decisions. That's what real leadership is.
You can tell he
Spending
was
other
like,
people's money is
he was
easy.
just
Balancing the
it's just
books
quanger
is
and
hard.
everything.
And it's even harder when all of your parliamentary party do is go around asking who they can tax to pay for more benefits.
No, I don't really want to have to be on benefits either, but unfortunately the situation in Ming is not
So
much
he must cut the taxes holding this country back, not put them up.
like you
Once
said,
you
can
have
do
done the
about it at the
difficult
moment.
work of
Like you
making
say, some
savings
countries are a
and
bit
fully
escaped.
funded the Defence Investment Plan, you can start to
Until
bring
there's
down
people
taxes
out of the
and give
country
our
that should be
economy
here,
the
and then
jobs
people
and
like
life it
yourself, I was going to
needs.
say, then people
Our
like me
plan
get jobs,
is to
Kelly
abolish
Baker
business
don't.
rates for most of the high street, scrap
I
the
mean, we
family
should have
farms tax,
funds.
scrap
I
the
was
family
going to say we
business
should have
tax,
funds
and
for people
abolish
like
stamp
me
duty
to
on
go to
family homes.
education
And there is
or
more to come.
like
But
the
we are
university
showing how
side
we
of
will
it.
pay for it.
And
And we will
things.
pay for that through our
Like
savings
saying
program,
apprenticeships for
cutting
people,
welfare, shrinking
no
the size of
matter
the
how
civil
old you
service
are.
while bringing the deficit down. Andy Burnham
For
needs to
adults,
cut the red tape that is
apprenticeships,
strangling
maybe a year
business, stopping us
apprenticeships or
from building the
something, like
homes
you say,
and infrastructure we
people.
need. He can
And
devolve
we're not just
all he
talking
likes
about
to mayors.
teenagers,
Mayors
we're
cannot
talking,
change the law.
I'm going to say
If Britain
apprenticeships
is
for
going
people
to
over
compete
25.
in the world in
and
an
over.
age of rapid technological change,
People like myself
it
in the
needs to be easy
40s.
to build
Yeah,
things
I was
here,
going to say
to
to be
try
able to
new
build
things. Our
some
financial
sort of a
services
job
sector,
and a
for
bit of a
example,
career.
one of this country's greatest
I was
assets,
going to say,
is now more
you know,
regulated
someone
than
like me
its
might never
competitors.
be a doctor,
That's why 2 weeks ago, I announced our plan to cut red tape for the city
but I'm sure
and
they'd have what
unleash
it
up
takes
to
to somehow be
£450
a manager
billion
of a shop
of
or
new lending. That's the kind of thinking
eventually.
Burnham needs.
I'm going to say,
£450 billion without borrowing, without more taxing. He needs to champion the businesses, the risk takers, the wealth creators, the employees who get this country moving, not champion having more politicians.
I wouldn't
So much of the
recommend
rhetoric
being a
that comes out
carer in a
of
care
left-wing
home.
politicians from people like Louise Hay or Neil Lawson and others advising
But
Andy
there isn't
Burnham.
hardly any jobs
So much
and
of
they're
that
far
rhetoric
away, and
is
then
the business is evil,
it's
the
like you
wealth
say, it's
creation
evil.
is evil. It isn't. New ideas, innovation, capital, that drives progress. That's what improves our lives. Keir Starmer had plenty of good advice, not least of all from me. But I wasn't the only one. Many others gave him good advice, including Tony Blair. Did he listen?
No.
No, he didn't, and now he's gone. Andy Burnham should not make that same mistake. I would be very happy to sit down with him. I quite like Andy Burnham. He's very genial, he's very personable. I would be very happy to sit down with him, show him our plans, they are public, share with him the alternative King's speech we set out at the beginning of this session that shows how a lot of this could be achieved. In the national interest, I would be happy to lend him Conservative votes in Parliament to pass tough legislation that his backbenchers don't have the stomach for. No one in this country wants a Prime Minister held
Well, if you
over a
got rid
barrel
of the
by a
king, if
load
the king's
of
allowing
left-wing
it, then yeah.
MPs. If Andy Burnham wants to be the first Labour Prime Minister to leave office with
That's what it's about,
unemployment
isn't it? Getting over
lower
King
than
Charles,
when
the
he came
king.
in, he needs to get a grip of the party he is already leading.
It's not just about the
Needs
Asian
to put an
rights
end
and
to
all
the
that,
chaos
because I'm not
and the
saying when they're
speculation.
deporting anybody, they've got
Mr.
killing
Burnham is
anybody or
clearly
anything like that
desperate
to
to be in
anyone.
charge. But Prime Minister
Well, mate,
is not
we
a
have to make
ceremonial
sure that
position.
got human
He
rights.
doesn't have a plan
But we
beyond
need to
telling
remove all the
mayors to
illegal
go and
immigrants
sort it out.
and the
This is
criminals
not
out
good
of
enough.
jails. We
There
need
is a
to
country
build
to govern.
jails, but not in this
Devolved mayors
country.
are not
Well,
going
yeah.
to fund the defence
But we need
investment
to
plan.
build jails
He
outside of
needs to
this
come to
country, outside
Parliament,
of Europe.
tell us what he wants to do, and face some
Proper
questions from
maximum
MPs, the
secure
people
jails outside
elected
of
to
Europe.
hold the government to
Which is,
account.
I'm
Giving
going to say,
speeches
it's
in
going to be a lot
Manchester
cheaper.
and not taking
And
any
I'm
questions
going to say,
is simply not good enough.
I'm sure there is countries that we have paid money to that are poor, and we are paying money to that are poor, where we can build these jails on some part of the land that they don't use, that's wasted. Which then will bring them an economy and jobs for the people that are there.
Not another one. We cannot afford 3 months in
And then they
limbo.
can say, oh,
We
well,
cannot
their
afford
laws are
3
different.
months
Yes,
without a
but we'll be
government.
buying the land
Andy
in our
Burnham
jail.
should
So
delay
it'll be
the
cost us
summer's
under the
parliamentary
English
recess
law
by just a day or two,
or
or
under
two,
European
come to the
law.
House and tell us
Human
his
rights,
plan
whatever.
for this country. This is not a game. It should not be a soap opera.
So basically,
If he
the
wants
jails
to be
are
the
just
leader of our
when you do a
country,
jail in
it
your
is time
country, but just
to
saying
start
is here.
acting like
What's
it.
the jails?
Thank you.
Well, not the same jails, but I mean, I'm saying same sort of protocol thing for human rights or whatever. And then, well, we do have to look at the death penalty for severe crimes,
Thank you.
people stabbing people and things.
Thank you, everybody.
That man that did that to that little baby,
So, unlike some
raping a
people who
little
are giving
baby, that's
speeches
death
today, I will be
penalty.
taking questions
And we
from
have
the
to do
media.
that. Yeah, it
Let's
has to
start
be
with
done. It's not a
ITV.
ban.
Jasmine Cameron Chaleshi.
Whatever,
I hope I said
race
that
and
right.
religion. It is
Yes,
a
yes.
ban.
Jasmine Cameron Chaleshi, ITV
crime
News.
like that.
Andy Burnham is expected to
I don't
outline
know
plans for a
any colour
so-called
anyway, so
number
I don't think
10
we're human.
North. You've served in cabinet before. How realistic is it to have, in effect, two centres of power? And secondly, Mr Burnham's broader argument is that he can deliver radical change, but within the current fiscal rules. Do you think that's possible? And if not, should there be an early general election?
I think he should go.
So thank you. I don't think it is really feasible to have number 10 in the North. As a Secretary of State, there were many times that I had to go to number 10 and then go into Parliament. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had to go up and down to Manchester at the same time.
No, but what we
did
should have
for
is how it
instance, a
is
second
before,
Treasury
how it
canvass
was
in the
before.
North. That was for
We should
civil
have part
servants, it was for
Parliament in
other
the North and
ministers,
part
it was not
Parliament
for
in
the
the
Prime
South.
Minister. I don't think he really understands what it is that he is saying. He's been out of Parliament for nearly 10 years. I think Andy Burnham has forgotten how a lot of
Yeah,
things work. I don't
I
think
think
there
so,
actually will
supposedly,
be
yeah.
number 10 in the North.
And to
And
be
then you
honest,
asked about
the thing is
the
with
fiscal
Andy
rules and the
Burnham,
general election. It
he
is
has
possible
been
to
the
have
Lord
radical
Mayor
change even within
Manchester.
Rachel
He
Reeves'
didn't do
fiscal
anything
rules.
for the
The
Rochdale and
radical
all
change
the
has to be that 5-point plan that I
He
talked
fixed a
about.
few
You
bike
can cut
lanes and
energy
whatever,
costs
but he
within
never
those
did
rules.
nothing
You
else.
can cut taxes. You can cut red tape. You can champion business. You can have flexible labour markets and get people working again. But there is one thing that he should not do. John Healey told us that the Defence Investment Plan was not funded. And
Brilliant.
that he
Well, that's
was
not
not
good to save
able to
someone's
keep our
life.
country safe with the
It's
money
going to
he's
say
been
keeping
given.
people safe.
If
is it?
Andy Burnham signs off on that Defence
What's the point
Investment
of giving
Plan,
people
or if he
that
does not find
can't
the
afford
money,
to go
then I
anywhere,
do
they
think
want
he
to
should
get on
call a
public
general election.
transport.
Because we can't all pretend that John Healey
Or
didn't
not,
say
not
what he
free.
said. We all know for a
Paid-
fact
I was gonna
that
say,
our
it's
country
paid
is
to
not
get
being
on public
properly
transport.
protected, and that
Knowing
should be
damn well
his
your
first
life could be at
priority,
risk.
not devolving to
Be
regional aims.
merged on the bus or on the tram or train or whatever. And he's got to go to
Powell,
Manchester
Sky
City
News.
Centre. Andy Burnham did
Rob
nothing for
Sky News.
Manchester City
Kelly
Centre. I've
Baker,
seen
for
it.
months you've been calling for Keir Starmer to resign. He's now said he will, but you now seem annoyed
Well,
that there's a
no
power
government have
vacuum
done
and no
anything for
decisions
any
are being
part
made.
of the country.
Don't you think there's an irony there? And isn't this just
And
the
then
inevitable
he's getting
result
rid of CD
of a PM
fucking
changing,
can.
something you've been
Yeah,
working
we need
pretty
to get
hard
rid
in
of him.
recent months to make happen?
No, it's
Not
not the
just
inevitable
Keir
result
Starmer, he's
of
got to
Prime
go
Minister
Sadiq
changing.
Khan as
It is
well.
the inevitable result of Andy Burnham wanting to be Prime Minister but not having a
I just
plan.
don't think Andy
People
Burnham's
not
just not
having
good enough.
plans is why we are changing
I'm
Prime
gonna
Ministers
say-
so often. And if Andy Burnham comes in without a plan, he is going to have another short tenure. Making announcements is not the
No,
same
you see, I
thing
think
as
if
having a
you
plan.
put Lauren
So I
yourself
want
Kelly
a
Baker, not
swift
join
and steady
together and
transition
group at
because
one.
I want to be able to ask the
I
Prime
think
Minister
we can have
what
a
he is
10-year
doing
plan
for
together.
our country. I'm the leader of the
With that.
opposition.
And
That's my
longer,
job.
possibly.
I'm not able to do my job. I was elected
Rupert Long needs to
constitutionally
be
to
the
do
next
this.
5
I want to be able
years.
to do my job, which is
We
hold the
need-
government
we
to
need
account.
our
And right now, there's
Superman,
not really
like
anyone to
Donald
hold
Trump.
to account, and the
And
Labour ministers
Kelly
are too
Baynard's
busy
brilliant
trying to sort
with
out
what she's
jobs for
saying
themselves.
here.
That is not
I
right.
hope
Catherine
I
Foster,
hope she
GB
don't
News.
like take offence because I really like Kelly Baynard. I really
You
like
said you
her.
quite like Andy Burnham. He seems to be
It's quite hard,
undecided on his chances,
My
so perhaps you could
vote
give him a
was
bit of
already gone
advice.
to Rupert
Sharon
Long, so I
Graham
won't be
has said of
changing my
Ed
mind.
Miliband that he would
But
put a
it'd be
noose around the neck
amazing
of
if
employers,
them
but
two
Liz
joined
Trussy wants to
together.
equalise capital gains tax with
Because then they
income
would
tax.
definitely
Who
win.
do you think would be
If
perhaps
Rupert Long and
his
Kelly
least
Baynard
bad
not joined
option?
together, they would definitely win it.
I've always said that the problem was not just Keir Starmer, the problem was the whole Labour
Well,
Party.
yeah, I know
There
all
aren't
of
many
it.
good
Look,
options.
the
They couldn't
King,
even
the
pick a Prime
fucking
Minister from the
Sadiq
400
Khan,
people in
fucking
Parliament.
all
They
of
had
them.
to go and get the Mayor of Manchester
David
to do
Bloody
it.
Lammy, Ed
I do know that
Miliband,
it should not be Ed Miliband.
Rachel Bloody Reeves, I'm gonna say another one, Ginger Nut. Fucking think she's from no.
I know that it should not be Ed Miliband. He
probably
is
is, I don't swear.
the single person who has done the most to
Because I don't talk
deindustrialise
like
our
that.
country
And I'm
and make
from
us poorer.
Manchester.
He should not be rewarded with an even more powerful job where he can completely bankrupt the country. So it's slim pickings.
I know,
I
with the
have to
dodgy
admit,
taxes,
but
all of them.
absolutely not
Angela
Ed
Baynard.
Miliband. That would be a disaster for the country.
All of them.
Genevieve Hall Allen from the Telegraph.
And you're right, Kelly Baynard, not to get rid of all
Louise
the rest
Hay,
of the ones
who
that
you
were in
mentioned,
the
and who is a
Conservative
prominent
Party.
figure in Andy Burnham's
They were
circle,
the
said
ones
last
that were
week
pulling
that
it
capital
down.
gains tax should be brought closer to income tax to shift the tax
Now, I
system
like
towards,
Katie Lammer.
and this is
I
what
like
she said,
Katie Lammer. I think
unproductive
she's
capital accumulation.
just,
What do you make
Kelly
of that?
Baynard,
And if I
Katie
may,
Lammer,
as
she's
you said,
definitely
Andy Burnham
good
won't be
as
taking
something,
questions from the
Katie
media this
Lammer.
morning after his speech. What do you think's behind that? Thank you.
Well, it's
possibly
so funny, you know, Andy Burnham doesn't like questions,
Teaching
Nigel Farage
seconds,
doesn't
you know,
like
like
questions,
teaching
even Keir
part or
Starmer
something with
in Parliament, he
Katie
doesn't like
Lammer.
questions. If
Yeah.
you want somebody who can answer questions, please come to me. I will answer all of your questions.
I'm going to say, I think the teaching part or something. Housing minister
I
teaching
will
part
answer all the questions.
for Katie Lammer.
But you asked about Louise Hay. I
Well, she
can't
did
believe that
amazing
we've
on
been
the
talking
Green
about
Band
Louise Hay
scandal.
again. I can't believe it. Her
So I think
private
she's
sector
quite good at,
experience
like, that
was
type of
mostly
part.
about taking mobile phones from the company
Yeah.
and declaring them
In the
stolen.
party.
I don't think we should be listening
Yeah.
to anything she's got to say about capital gains tax. She completely misses the point that if you equalise capital gains tax and income tax, you will completely crush investment in this country. People are taking risks. She doesn't get it. Ryan Sadie from The Sun, please.
Thank you. Can you guarantee that any Tory mayoralty and Tory local authorities won't make holidays more expensive by imposing the overnight visitor levy
Fuck, is
or
that the little
holiday
name
tax,
to
which is
the
backed by both
Conservative
Andy
Party?
Burnham and this
We-
Labour government as part of fiscal devolution?
Well, I've had conversations with
With
my
a gas
local
Conservatives.
mayors and local council leaders. This is not a policy that we support. If you can find a Conservative leader of a council who's doing that, send them my way, and I
Restart
will have a word.
Conservative Party.
Christian Calgi from the Mail, please.
Thank you for the question. On the core issue of Andy's policy proposals of devolution, are you principally opposed to more devolution, or is actually the problem that power is too diffuse in British politics? And do you think it's right for him to focus on disparity between the North and the South, or is that just grievance
Step
politics?
down as being
So
the leader.
the
let
problem,
Rupert Lowe
I think, is that devolution is not a silver bullet.
Because if
It
Rupert
is
Lowe
not
was
an
the leader
answer.
of it.
It is a process. If you devolve to people who can't do the job, you just recreate the problem elsewhere and make
With
it harder for
Kerry
central
Baynard,
government
then.
to fix it. How do we go about picking our mayors?
I was
If
going to
you're
say, well, then
picking
I think
people who
that's
think it's
where
just a
we would.
popularity contest or
have
I'm a
a good-
celebrity, they're not actually going to be able to do that job. I think a lot of politicians hide behind devolution because they don't have any answers. So they say, well, why don't we let local people sort it out? But they don't give them the real tools, the power, they don't change the regulation. Right now, what's wrong with our country? We have extremely high energy costs. What's a local mayor going to do about that? We have seen so much go wrong because politicians have been outsourcing decisions, outsourcing responsibility to councils, to councils, quangos, OBR. No one is making decisions. And what I hear when Andy Burnham talks about more devolution is that he doesn't actually know what he wants to do, and so he wants to pass the problem somewhere else. We know what we want to do. We set out an alternative King's Speech. It is about us using the power that we have been given. We took powers from the EU. Let's use them. Why are so many politicians so scared? I think Andy Burnham is afraid of taking difficult decisions. He wants to be liked, he wants to be popular, but politicians who want popularity always end up running away from tough decisions. I'm not scared of
Well,
taking tough
Rupert
decisions,
Will's
and
not
that's
scared
very
either because he
David
gets them
Lynch from
like
PA.
doesn't he, as well?
Oh,
See?
Mrs. Beard, yeah, thank you very much. David Lynch from PA. Just wanted
In
to
fact,
start by
Rupert Will's
asking,
he
just
does,
spoken
you know,
about the
I
prospect
don't know
of
how
a
he stays
general
so
election,
calm,
only
like
if,
with that Alex
the
Phillips,
government
how
can't,
Rupert Lowe's managed to
sign
stay
off
so
the
calm
defence
about
investment
what
plan.
she says.
Is the
What she
Conservative
said,
Party
what she
ready to
said
fight
is
a
so
general
nasty what she
election?
said.
And secondly, I just wanted to ask about Row.
Yes,
I've never heard Kenny Badenoch speak
Just
like
wanted
that.
to ask about
To
Row
be
you found
fair,
yourself involved in
which
with
is-
Bridget Phillipson last
It
week.
means a lot, that. It
During the
does
course of
mean a
that
lot.
row, you said
not
that scrapping
talk
VAT
is if
exemption on private schools
they're
was
the
akin
only,
to
they're the best
bigger
person, they're
staff.
the only.
Why don't you guys
Like,
could explain
They're
your
above
thinking
every, we
behind
know
this?
they're above everybody
Well,
else.
that's not
but
quite
it's
what
not.
happened. But first of all, we are absolutely ready to fight a general election. Absolutely ready.
But taking it above everybody else would be bullies.
We saw the
I'm
results
glad, though,
in
if they've
Aberdeen South,
smashed Reform
50%
Britain,
of the
I'm
vote,
glad.
because we can unite the country. There are all sorts of people talking about
I'm glad.
uniting the right. It's about uniting the country, for goodness sake, behind a centre-right agenda which only the Conservatives can do. No other party can do what we can do in terms of uniting the country behind a sensible centre-right agenda. Too many people think that it's all about elections. Winning an election is the beginning, not the end. It's about how you are going to govern. What is the point of re-electing an Andy Burnham if he does not want to fund the defence investment plan? What is the point of electing a Nigel Farage who doesn't even have a defence spokesman?
What's
He's
the
got
point?
100
What's the point
unvetted
of
MPs,
voting
a
for
few
Nigel
Tory
Farage when he
stranders
lied
and Sarah
about
Poaching.
Green
Is that a
scandal
government?
anyhow?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
we
don't
know
think so.
Conservatives have lied in the past, but to be all fair, all the old Conservative people have gone near enough.
On your second,
As Jimmy said,
on
there's
your
only
second
one or
point,
two
I
left,
stand very
and I
much
don't
by
think
all of the
they
words I
have
said
much to
about
do
Bridget
with
Phillipson. I said them
most
on
of
the
the
floor of the
grooming
House of
gangs,
Commons.
don't
The point you're making, you asked specifically about
Maybe
Gestapo
what part
officer.
of
That
their
wasn't
job.
necessarily in the last few days.
I
That was a
was
while
gonna say,
ago,
well,
and that was because
I
I said
mean,
she's putting
maybe some
ideology
parts
above
wasn't
the
all
welfare
parts
of
of
children.
everybody's
That
jobs
was
to
what
deal
that
with,
reference was
exactly.
about. This is a woman who has displaced 40,000 children. So many schools have closed. She said she was doing it to increase
Yeah.
teacher numbers.
She
There are
hasn't.
now 2,000 fewer teachers than we had before.
Exactly.
And 0% of teachers think she's doing a good
Doctors.
job.
All these people said to bring in doctors, teachers, fucking dentists, whatever, we can't get fuck all because there isn't
0%
any.
of teachers think Bridget Phillipson is a
Exactly.
good job. What we should be doing
We had
is
all these
holding
people
her
coming
to
in the
account
country that
and
all
not
were
asking
doctors
if
now,
I
so
said
we're
her
gonna
two
get
words about
appointments.
Bridget Phillipson. She is the one destroying their futures. I am the one defending those children, and I will continue to do so.
Well, yeah, but you will need help. That's the point, Kenny Biden. The thing is, I don't think all of them are realising. It's like Rupert Lowe, you
John
can't
Walker
do it
from the
all on
Express,
his own.
please.
Hello, thank you.
Well, some
Given
level
that
in the line, you have got to join
we
this
face
together.
this gap
Like
where
you
nobody
say.
seems to be running the country, and Labour's leadership rules are entirely a matter for them
And
and
leave
not part
Nigel
of the
Farage out of it,
Constitution.
can
Would
we?
you like to see them bring
He's all-
forward the
he-
anointment
I know
of
he
the
fucked
new
up-
Prime
he
Minister?
fucked up Brexit and everything.
Also, would you like them to speed up the process?
Kenny Biden,
So did you say the annulment of the
Anointment.
anointment? Is,
Combination.
yes.
And also
I'm
very
not
briefly,
saying she
you mentioned the
didn't
fiscal
know
rules. I know you have your golden
about
rule, but
things,
do you
but
support
she didn't have nothing
Rachel
to do
Reeves'
with
fiscal
it.
rules? Would you stick to them?
So, in terms of the process, I do think that if Andy Burnham is not ready to be Prime Minister, then he should not have rushed to take the job. The country
It's because
should
you only
not
had
have to
Andy
wait for
Burnham
him
to
to
fucking
work
take
out
the
what
job.
it is that he thinks, because as we saw in the run-up to
It's
the
not about
last
Andy
budget,
Burnham rushing
when
to
you
take
have
the job,
that
it's because they've
limbo,
only got him.
decisions, often permanent decisions, are made.
They're
Some
desperate.
people will not invest in this country.
Labour,
Some
they're
people will leave the
desperate. They've only
country.
got Andy
We need
Burnham
to
to
have some
pick.
certainty and some clarity. And when
got
it comes
nobody
to
else at
fiscal
least.
rules, every government has
I was
a
going to say
right
at
to
least
set their own fiscal
Conservatives, I
rules
mean,
and
there was
send a
different
signal
governments,
to,
different governments, but at
to
least
the
you have
market.
kept having
It's not
somebody else to
really
pick.
about her fiscal rules. We said
I was
that
going
we're
to
going
say,
to
at
we
least
have
you
our
have
building
somebody else to
economic
throw
rules.
it like,
It's
if
really
it was
about
just
showing that you have got an agenda for the country within
or
those fiscal
Schumacher,
rules.
whatever.
Labour don't have an
But for
agenda.
fuck's
They
sake,
assume that
Labour,
they've
they're
won a
fucking
landslide
desperate.
because
They've only
people
got Andy
loved their
Burnham.
manifesto. That was not
That's
the
liable
reason.
to be able to
They
try
are now
and be a
drifting.
Prime
We
Minister.
cannot afford drift. That's why we already have
The
an
rest of
alternative
it,
King's Speech,
hey,
an
liable
alternative
to
plan
be
for
Prime
government
Minister.
ready. No other party, not Labour, not the Lib Dems, not the Greens, not Reform, not Andy Burnham, none of them have a plan for government. But
Exactly.
Noah Hoffman, Spectator.
And nobody's thought about
Thank
what
you,
David
Kenny.
Lammy
The
might
Spectator
try and do. Why is he
recently
not trying to
revealed
be Prime
that
Minister?
some people in the Labour Party seem to believe that Andy Burnham is going to be Labour's first female leader. And I was wondering, as a female leader of a major party, and I know you
Yeah, it looks
don't
like a
take to
meatball.
identity politics too well, what you make of this revelation.
He sticks up for the
I
fucking
don't
gay
know what to
parade in
say.
fucking
I don't know what to
Manchester.
say.
Don't look at him, Bob
The
being funny.
idea that Andy Burnham
Be
is
stripped that
Labour's
back.
first female Prime Minister shows that that party still doesn't know
I'm
what a
sorry.
woman is.
I'm not.
But
Against most things, but I'm against that.
But I've also found it very interesting how Labour women have been so much in a hurry to carry his bags and be his handmaiden and be at the front of his photo
I'm
call.
like saying
Why would
giving
you allow
children
yourself to
sex
be used as
changes
window
and
dressing in this way?
puberty
We
support.
are
I'm
our
against all
fourth
that.
female
I'm
leader
sorry.
because our party is a meritocracy. We don't do quotas,
I'm not
we don't
giving
do
them proper
identity
sex
politics, we just let the
education,
best
proper
person apply for the
things
job.
and
And maybe
things.
Labour should think about doing that one of these years.
I'm going to say the schools are doing completely wrong and they're not giving proper sex education to children when it's meant to be appropriate time to give them
Hi,
things
sorry,
to
thank you
them.
very
And
much.
you're trying to get
Amelia from
everybody's
Lithgow.
fucking
Going to change the
sex
subject
change
slightly. Can I
as
ask
well.
what you think about the
And the
US
parents ain't allowed to know. I
Iran
don't
supposed
care. I
peace
think
deal
if anything,
if it holds?
to
Obviously, it
any
sees the US
child, any
paying
sort of
$225
anything
billion
a parent
pounds to Iran
well
on top
be
of
told.
lifting sanctions. And there's no clear nuclear element
If a
that
school has
changes
to
the
give you
pre-war
paracetamol,
position.
it
What do you
should be
think about
wrote
the deal?
down.
Do you think the war was
you know,
So
I
it
got to
definitely was not worth
that
that deal.
And they had to have
I don't know
paracetamol
if there
for the
will be
teacher.
a ceasefire. I feel like we've been
You know.
led up and down the ceasefire hill so
And it
many
had to be
times.
wrote down or
I
whatever,
think that President Trump clearly had not had a plan to exit the war, or
No.
he thought it would be as easy as it was in Venezuela. But certainly coming out with us having to pay to use the Straits of Hormuz leaves us in a worse position than when we started. Millie Cook.
And of course,
From The
don't
Independent.
sanction us for it all.
Thank you, Kenny. Millie Cook from The Independent. You've hit out at chaos in Labour. Do you accept that
We've
the
took things for
benchmark
a
for
feel
chaos
out
at the moment
of
appears
America.
to be the last Tory government? And how do you plan to escape that legacy before the next election?
Well, my job as leader of the opposition is to hold this current government to account and say what they're doing, not to hold previous Conservative governments to account. But we paid for those things. We paid for them with our biggest defeat
Yeah, we
ever
paid
in
for
our
your wonder
200-year history. And we have learned from our mistakes. And what I'm trying to do right now
And
is
I
actually
think we
explain
need
to
that
Labour
plan
that they
back.
are making the same mistakes.
It
and
is
they're
a deterrent.
making even worse mistakes.
And we
than
don't
the
have to have
ones
them
they
come in
did.
here, we
I'm
can
not here
send
to
them
say that
straight
the
to you
Conservative
under.
Party was perfect. If it was, we would still be in government. But
I mean, I think we also do need to find somewhere else we can send these people
like
to.
on net zero,
Can't
like
send them
on
all to
immigration, where we
Rwanda,
will leave the ECHR.
like you're saying.
But
So
we have an agenda and we
I was going to
have
say
a
we have to
plan.
build,
Many
I
of
was
the
going to say
things
the
that
plan
went
should be
wrong
to
were about
build
making
jails outside of our
announcements before
country as
having the
well.
plan ready. That is what Andy Burnham is doing
Maximum
again.
secure
And I
jails.
think it would be wrong
Like
of me
Bangladesh,
to ignore
wherever.
that. I think it's the important things for people to see that being pointed out, and that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
Because we need to deport millions of people. That's the only thing she's not saying yet is deportation.
Hi Kevin.
Which
Can I just ask
is
something
what's
about one of the
needed.
things you mentioned in the speech quite a lot?
I mean, we're
Your,
not talking
energy
every
policy.
person. That's
Even at the
of
best
course.
estimates, North
No,
Sea Oil
but
and Gas
nobody,
might
it's
provide
not
the
being
UK
racist. It's
with maybe
exactly what
10,
needs to
20
be
years
done.
worth
There's
of
too many people on the island.
energy.
Thousands of
If
men
we
that
had
don't need
reliable
it like the way
energy
it
on our
is.
own, for example, solar and wind,
So we
then
have
that
to,
would
they've
give
got
us
to
energy
all,
in the
they've
long
got
term.
to go
Spain
somewhere.
currently has some of Europe's lowest
And what's
costs
talking
because it is
every
invested
single
in
family.
solar and wind for a very, very long time.
But the Conservatives had effectively a de facto ban on onshore wind, which has slowed things down a lot for the UK. That was part of the government you were in. Do you think, in retrospect, that was something you shouldn't have done?
So this is a very good question and allows me to restate what our energy policy is. We need energy security, and that means we need to get it from everywhere, not just oil and gas, nuclear, renewables as well. The reason why the oil and gas drilling ban is so bad is because it also has an impact on the renewables industry. The supply chain serves them both. Every time I've gone to Aberdeen and spoken to companies, they say that we work for renewables as well, but if we stop getting business from oil and gas, we will disappear and we won't be able to help the renewable industry. The problem with what Labour is doing is that it is not joined up. But worse than that, what it is doing is making us even more dependent on China. We are killing our industry while relying on wind turbines that are made in China. I think I read a story about a lot of the supplies that have been sent here having asbestos in them. This is just crazy. How can we be doing this? So this isn't about renewables versus fossil fuels or onshore versus offshore. It is about having a plan that actually works. We have spent the last few years working to cut emissions. It hasn't worked. Other countries aren't following, they're all paying lip service, and we are bankrupting ourselves and deindustrializing. What I want to do is bring back common sense. Common sense is the key to getting our energy policy and so many other policies working for the benefit of people in this country.
Onshore wind, whether you think that was a good or bad thing to have done for 10 years?
Ask Claire Coutinho, the Shadow Energy Secretary. She can give you more detail on that. Final question, I was confused for a second. It's Rachel Rees, not Rachel Reeves, from the FT. Rachel, please.
Rachel Rees from the FT. You've spoken about Ed Miliband quite a few times this morning. Last week you described him as a villain, and you've previously compared him to Nigerian military dictatorships. Why do you hate him so much? And do you think using language like that debases our politics?
He is the villain of the story of what's happening with energy. There's so much language policing. Why are you using this language? Why are you using that language? Look at what's happening in the country. Let's stop worrying about hurting words and look at the people who are hurting the country. But I do feel very strongly about this issue, and you've touched on it. Many people know that my childhood was spent in Nigeria. Nigeria is an oil-producing country that never had any electricity. Why? Because it had bad policies from military dictatorships, people who they didn't care what the country wanted. They imposed socialism on the country. They took over all of the oil, the oil production. They had a national state oil producer, and it failed. Ed Miliband is actually doing the same thing. He wants to do more state control. He has terrible policies that are reducing our capacity, reducing our energy security. So having lived under both, I think I'm uniquely placed to make that comparison. Yes, Ed Miliband is acting like the Nigerian military dictators who ruined a lot of that country's economic potential and made it so much poorer and in some cases bankrupted the country. We should not make the same mistake. There are lessons to learn from bad public policy that destroys energy security. Yeah. We will not, as Conservatives, make the mistake that Labour has been making.
Yeah.
That's my view. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody. Are you ready for this? I'm sounding like I used to sound when I used to DJ across this great city, and I'm probably doing that because I'm missing it so much. I'm missing all of you. I am missing all of you. Missing this place, the people. You were just brilliant to me in my 9 years as mayor. I could not have asked for better backing. You were there at my back all the way through. and I will never forget what this place did for me. It's been such a wrench to leave that I've had to get special permission from what people in Westminster call my Manchester clothes. I've had to get special permission to wear them this morning. Sorry, Kemi, about that. However, I have bowed to public pressure on one front. I have bought some new running shorts. It was either do that or change the decency laws, and I opted for the former. But I can't tell you how glad it makes me that we meet at this big moment in one of my favourite places on earth, the People's History Museum. It holds real significance for me, and it's not just because one of my old coats is in a glass case upstairs. And can you believe it, comes off second best alongside Michael Foot's infamous donkey jacket. It's because these galleries tell the story of our country better than anywhere else. How through time it has not been run in the interests of the many. And how ordinary people have fought to change that status quo and make it fairer. Today, we must take inspiration from that history and get ready to repeat it. The time has come to build the broadest possible coalition of people to lift Britain back up to where we all want it to be. What hope can we have that it will be different this time? That's the question I would be asking if I was a voter right now. It's the one I want to answer as clearly as I can today, and in doing so, give the new direction the country is looking for. After 10 years of political turbulence since Brexit, and 20 years of falling living standards since the 2008 financial crash, Westminster hasn't been working for people, and it hasn't been working for a very long time. In fact, it is broken.
No, it's broken, mate.
And as a result, the country isn't where it should be. It is stuck in a rut, and clearly we can't go on like this. My generation of politicians, including me, must take responsibility. We haven't been good enough. But instead of being honest about that, the parties have continued with politics as usual, finger pointing, point scoring. Now, that might matter less in a world where people's lives are getting better. But when they are not, it is dangerous and destructive of what remains of public trust in politics. We cannot go through another decade like the one we have just had. We need a new determination to raise living standards of every single person in this land. And we must accept that. To do that, to fix the economy and the country, we need to change politics, and we need to do it now.
There, that's my tea tonight. And that is my tea.
So let me state my clear intention as I put myself forward. True to the motto of this city, I am going to do things differently. I am going to break with the more of the same approach that has got us here. I am going to give Britain...
They've not started the kitchen properly today. They were meant to fit a side, but they said they're not fitting one because they're going to put a new kitchen in. It's chiller. £6 housing, they haven't got a clue what they're doing. Or they're not doing. It's typical, isn't it, the council? I'm watching Andy Burnham and there's not washing.
Around the country. We will make politics work for you and the place where you live.
Wow.
I know it can be done
No, you don't.
because we have done it here.
Where?
When I started as mayor in 2017, we set about building a new approach, a new politics based on the exact opposite of the Westminster approach. Place first, not party first. Problem solving, not point scoring. Long term, not short term. A decade on, it's incredible how much we've been able to achieve by working together instead of fighting against one another. The Greater Manchester Way is based on strong partnership between all sectors, public, private, community, voluntary, academic, faith, and our trade unions. We ask everyone to face the same way and then pull in that same direction together. Let me give you an example. When we realised the last Conservative government had done something significant by introducing 45-day work placements for young people linked to T-levels, we set ourselves the mission of finding one for every young person who wanted one. Over the course of last year, we rang round our businesses in the city region, and with the help of hundreds of companies, delivered our goal of 1,000 extra work placements. That's 1,000 extra young lives changed every year, and it shows what a place can do when it works as one. For Britain to get back where it should be, those same principles need to be applied now to how we run the country, pull in the same direction, move forward together. But let's not kid ourselves, this is not as easy as it sounds. Westminster and Whitehall are set up for conflict, and they require radical change if the country is to get back on track.
Oh, you're damn right, yeah.
I left Westminster a decade ago with the Mayor of the Liverpool City region, Steve Rotherham, because we could see it simply wasn't working for the northwest of England and the people here, and indeed other parts of Britain, the same thing. The Parliament I returned to on Monday is full of good people, many of them here in the audience today, members of Parliament who joined us. And they are working hard every day, trying to do the right thing for the places that they represent. But it's hard, it's too hard for them to make change. Why? Because power is not in the hands of those places that they represent, but held by an insufficiently accountable, outsourced state. We are one of the most over-centralised countries in the world. And worse,
from the top to the bottom,
that over-centralised heart of the country is not pulling in the same way, but in different directions. That is the reality of Westminster now, both within our parties
being held
and between them.
People that steal things are not being held accountable. People that murder people are not being held accountable.
I'll be honest, I was worried about what I found on my return last week. It is a more fragmented, disjointed place than the one I left. And frankly,
constant fraud from government, the king.
I will work hard to change that culture.
Money laundering.
Leading from the front and showing how things can be different.
Corruption.
Letting MPs be authentic representatives and not using the whip system to create fear or close down debate.
Oh, good, Jen.
Involving more people in the work of the government and drawing on the breadth and depth of talent and expertise our party has to offer. While the political direction I set is not up for negotiation, I will build an inclusive team at the very highest level so that all parts of the party and the country can see themselves reflected and represented in it. And may I say, I will not announce those decisions on appointments. Certainly not today. And indeed not until the end of this process. So until then, feel free to discount the wild speculation in circulation. Message for the back of the room there.
Well, there's at least a bit better than Starmer. The first day Starmer came, bloody hell. It was
I
like
will reach out to other political parties to find as much common ground as we can and build that more collaborative approach I spoke about a moment ago. So, a greater sense of unity in Parliament will then allow us to give a clearer sense of direction to Whitehall. I was struck by recent comments from ministers expressing their deep frustration at the Whitehall turf wars. Like Parliament, the civil service is full of good people trying to do the right thing, but they are held back by the structure and culture in which they have to work. It is too adversarial, and too much time is wasted with departmental silos battling each other and battling the Treasury rather than getting things done. How can the country pull in the same direction when that is the reality at the very top? And as mayors, I'm sure I speak for the front row here, as mayors we have felt similar frustration over the years when those same departments constantly push back against our legitimate requests to improve our places by devolving a fraction of the power and resources they hold. The truth is this, the country spends too much time arguing and not enough time doing. I'm not sure this Whitehall culture could ever be justified. It wasn't justified when I was a minister almost 20 years ago, but it certainly can't be justified now. The stark imbalance in resources between national government and local government is holding back growth. If councils can't fix potholes, what chance do they have of bringing forward major regeneration schemes to get growth going? While national government has got bigger, particularly since the pandemic, local government is threadbare and without the resources to fulfil even statutory responsibilities. This is not just bad for councils and the areas they serve, it is bad for everywhere. It is bad for London and the South East. The whole country suffers when the regions and nations are not meeting their potential, and Londoners are left with an overheated economy and an overcrowded housing market. It is actually bad for national government too, because we will never get the growth up to the level Britain needs unless every single postcode in the land is set up to contribute to it. This country hasn't thought in that way before, but with the Makerfield test at the heart of decision making, it will do from now on. To make it happen, we will bring about the biggest rebalancing of power our country has seen. It is time for Whitehall to accept that growth cannot be ordered from the top down. Instead, it can only be nurtured from the bottom up. It comes from having the power at ground level to make a real difference. From a clear shared vision that everyone can understand and investors can back. It comes from running sound finances, as we have done here in Greater Manchester, which in turn gives businesses the stability and the confidence to invest, increasing their productivity and adoption of new technology. It comes from placing our universities at the heart of local economies, as all the mayors do, and bringing the innovation-led approach through start-ups and scale-ups. It comes from committing to decent infrastructure in all parts of the UK and getting national investors to back the aspirations set by regions. It comes from giving people the security of a good home and good employment so that they can be as productive as possible, from good mobility and an ability to afford the basics. And it comes from not leaving everything to the market, but public intervention where necessary, to set higher ambitions for towns, as we did in Stockport, and kickstart the process of change.
Stockport.
This is Manchesterism.
Alright. Maybe you weren't able to do with the other thing because you got walked over by bloody Sadiq Khan.
I think I even saw the Mayor of Liverpool clapping at that.
Bloody Sadiq Khan, the Lord Mayor of London, maybe it's why Birmingham couldn't do much.
It is a vision for good growth and a rejection of the old trickle-down model.
That's what we need to do next. Get rid of Civic Town, mate.
And like the ideas this museum celebrates, which grew here and changed the country,
We need a new mayor
so
for
all
London.
parts of the UK should now be given the chance to develop their own version of the same, focusing on the things that matter most to them. Good growth in every British postcode.
Keeps going wrong.
What a sea change that would be
What's
in the way
going wrong
UK
in
government
Metro
thinks
AI?
about
Why
our
not
own
just
country.
that?
Places no longer forgotten or written off as they have been in the past, but supported
What
to
the
make
heck?
the
It
best
does
of their
make
assets,
nothing.
seeing the positives
Something went
in all
wrong, please
places.
try
And there
again.
are positives in all places, in all postcodes
fucking wrong,
across
innit?
this United Kingdom. Let's always remember that.
Huh? Yeah. Let's remember that.
Powers for our rural economies to address issues specific to them, like inadequate transport. Powers for
Nothing about
areas
deportation,
undergoing
no,
industrial transition, like Port Talbot, Scunthorpe and Aberdeen.
Conservatives and Labour have not
Powers
thought
for
about
our proud coastal towns
Yeah.
to reimagine themselves for the 21st century.
I've not heard him say about
And yes,
deportation yet.
more